Hi everyone, I'm Atenas and this is Mode Bespoke. Today we're going to be talking about how to change colors, how to add yarn, and how to carry yarn in all of your crochet projects. So let's get started. So the three topics we're covering today are the three things I get asked a lot about. So I thought I would just make a short video to answer some of these questions. So we're going to work on changing yarn first. So you can do this with any project. I'm showing you here with a double crochet because it was a quick work for me. So I'm just going to grab a different color yarn and we'll get started with this. So I normally switch at the very beginning of a row. You can also work this in the middle of a row, but I'll show you how to do that later. So if you're going to do this at the beginning of a row or at the end of a row that you just did so you can start a new row, normally how you would start a row is you just chain however many you need for the stitch that you're working on. So I'm working with a double crochet, so I'm going to start with a chain 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my new yarn, so my beige yarn. I'm going to leave a nice long tail, and then I'm going to loop that around my hook and pull that loop through the loop that I have, so the purple loop, like so. And now I need to chain 2 because I'm working on a double crochet, although some folks use a chain 3. But I'll make my first chain using both threads of the yarn, and I'll pull both of those through, make one chain, and any of the remaining chains, be that 1 or 2, whatever your preference is, I'm just going to use my working yarn. So I'll move this extra thread and then pull everything to just tighten it up, and I'll finish my chain. So I'll chain my second one, since I do a chain 2 at the beginning of a double crochet, and just go through and pull on all the loose threads, and that way you can tighten everything up, and now you can start working the rest of your row. So I'll just keep working some double crochets and I'll show you how this looks after you've worked a few stitches. And if you're doing something with like a single crochet, I'll show you that too. So that's how I switch yarns when I'm doing something like a double crochet, or I mean in general this is how I typically switch colors. So here, let's go back to the beginning. So here, I'll turn everything around and pull this loop back up. So when you're going to make a row of single crochets, you know how you normally start with a chain 1 and then you turn your work around. When you switch colors, it's going to be no different than that. So let me get that loop out. So just grab your yarn, leave a nice long tail, and loop it around your hook. Now we're going to pull that loop through the purple loop, like so. And now I'm just going to make a chain 1 using both of the threads of yarn. So my working yarn and then the other thread. So both of them, just pull them through. So yarn over, pull through just to make a chain. And now I can just pull on all these loose ends of yarn. So these little tails, just go through, pull everything nice and tight, turn my work around, and just start working. So I'll start working my first single crochet and then just work a few more. So that's how I would switch yarns on a single crochet project or anything that begins similarly to a single crochet. So I just use the chain 1. So now, say you're going to be working on a project and you need to switch yarn colors in the middle of your project. So in the middle of a row. So I'm just going to pretend that this is a new thread of yarn, since I didn't cut it, and you'll see it here in a minute, so that's why it's getting a little tangled. So just leave a nice long tail of yarn like you did the first time we switched colors. So see, it's attached still. So I'm not going to cut it, I'm just going to pretend it's a nice long tail. So what I do is just insert my hook into the stitch I'm going to be working into, yarn over, and pull up my loop. So see, I've got a purple loop and the little beige loop, and then I'll just yarn over in the purple and pull that through and finish my single crochet. And then I can just keep going and working single crochets. I'll work another one. So you can see that we have now switched colors. The same would go if I needed to switch colors back to like my beige. And this is just if you're going to switch colors. This is different than carrying your yarn. So if you're going to be switching colors between like 2 or 3 colors throughout the row, you're going to have to carry your yarn so you don't have these big old pieces of yarn just kind of hanging out in the back of your work. So here, let's go back here, and then I'll show you what I mean by carrying your yarn. So I'll just make my single crochet in here and just switch it to the purple. So I pulled up my loop, tighten everything up, and now I'm going to carry yarn. So the beige, I'm going to need it later on in my work, so I'm going to have to carry it. So what I'll do is I'm just going to start working my single crochet like I normally would. So just insert my yarn into my, or insert my hook into my stitch, excuse me, yarn over, pull up my 2 loops, and notice that I'm still holding the beige yarn behind it. So finish my single crochet. So if you notice, my beige yarn is just hanging over the top of my work. So it's just laying flat, and I'm just making my single crochet right over my work. Nope, unless it slips out. The same idea applies if you're carrying yarn for any other type of stitch. So whether it's a double crochet or, you know, a fan, anything that you are doing, that is how you carry yarn, because it becomes hidden in the back of your work. That way, when you have to switch colors again, you can just easily switch to your other yarn. See, now I can switch to my beige, and now I carry the purple. So I'll just start my single crochet like so, just switch color, and all the while carrying the purple yarn over, just overlap it over the work that we were working on, and then just continue in the beige. That way we can alternate colors throughout the work, and we won't have long spaces of, or long pieces of yarn hanging out in the back of our work that can get tangled in anything, whether it's like a beanie or something. We just don't want those hanging out in the back of our work. It'll also make our work look a lot cleaner. So let me remake my double crochet that slipped out. If you can hear my kid in the background, I am so sorry. She's having grandma time and she's cracking up in the background. So if you can hear her, I'm sorry. Alright, so we're going to carry yarn with a double crochet. So we're just going to pull that first loop through. So leave a nice long tail and pull your beige loop through your purple loop, and chain 1 using both threads. Now I use chain 2 for my double crochet, so I'm going to chain 1 more with my working yarn. If you use a chain 3 for your double crochet, just chain another one so you can have your chain 3. I'll make a couple of double crochets here, and then we're going to start with the purple yarn, so because we're going to carry the beige yarn. So here's a couple of these. So here are a couple of beige stitches. Now I'm going to switch to my purple. So let me grab my purple, and I'm just going to start working automatically. So just yarn over and start my my double crochet. So here, let's do this again so I can do it nice and slowly. So just leave a nice long tail. So this is just assuming you just are adding a new color yarn, because remember, I'm not cutting the purple thread. So leave a nice long tail, and you're just going to start your stitch. So just yarn over and insert it into your stitch, and just start with your double crochets. Remember to hold your beige yarn like this, lay it on top of your stitches. So as you insert your hook and finish your double crochet, it will start to hide this beige yarn. So because when you pull your hook through, you're going through the stitch, and over the stitch is the beige yarn. So you're going through both of those in order to hide the beige yarn. So before you switch colors again, make sure you pull on all the yarns to make it nice and tight, and then you just switch back to your beige. So you just yarn over and start your double crochet. So we'll do it again. Oh, that's a double crochet. So we'll yarn over, insert our hook into the stitch. You're going to carry your purple yarn, so just lay it flat over your stitches, and then just work your double crochets. You can do this with any stitch, so whether it's a single crochet, double crochet, whatever you want. Oh no, I've run out of beige yarn, so let me see if I can finish this double crochet, because I am all out of this little scrap of beige. But you get the idea. This is how we carry yarn. So it's a color switch and a yarn carry, because there are a lot of projects that you need to carry it. You can carry as much yarn as you want, so you can do several colors if you want to. I think the most I've ever carried have been 3 colors of yarn, and you can carry it just fine. So now we're going to cover how to add yarn to a project. So this is just adding another skein of yarn to a project that you're working on, and typically it's the same color yarn. So see, I'm at the end of my yarn and I need to add some more. So here's the other bit of yarn that I need to add. So there are a couple of ways that I have tried to do this. This is going to be the best way that I have found so far, because what I used to do, so I'll show you what I used to do first. So I would line up, see, my 2 threads of yarn, the ones that I was going to join together, and then I would just tie a little knot like so. So what I found would happen was that when I was working with the synthetic yarn, that it wouldn't tighten enough, or it felt like it would tighten, but then when I washed my project, it would fall apart. So it happened to me with a blanket. I had already finished a complete blanket. This was like an adult blanket, and I made it like bigger than twin size, and it completely fell apart because one of my knots got untied in the middle. So what I do now, and it has worked awesome, is if it's a thin yarn, I wrap it around my finger like this, both threads at the same time, and then just roll my index finger along my thumb, and it'll just make this little bit of a knot here, and then I'll just tighten it. Just make sure that the little ends go through the middle of it, and then you can just tighten it. So that usually works really well if you're using like a fingering yarn, and then you can just cut, just make sure it's really, really tight, and you can just cut whatever ends are left. If you're using a thicker yarn, just line up your 2 edges like so, the 2 ends of yarn, and then just tie a little knot with both threads simultaneously. So wrap it around a finger, and then just pull through the middle like so. Although normally it's a lot easier because I've planned better for this. Alright, so you just pull all your yarn through and then tighten your knot. So tighten it as tight as you can, and then pull on all the threads of your yarn. So pull on everything individually as tightly as you can, and make sure it's not going to fall apart. So just tighten everything. There we go. Now these, if you can leave those really long and then weave them in if you like, but I can just cut them here at the end once I've tightened my knot as much as it'll go. Then I can just give it a bit of a cut here, make sure that I don't have too much fuzz everywhere. Give it another quick tug, and then I can just keep working. Depending on the yarn you use, it will either easily hide into your project, or it might be a little bit visible. But it is the least visible way I have found, and the most effective way I've found to add yarn to a project. So hopefully this helps you out. So see, I can just keep working on my project like nothing happened. So I'll finish the rest of my row here. I've just got one last stitch left, and I'll show you what this looks like. See? So there's that knot. It's pretty small. You could try to tuck it into your work. Depends on what kind of yarn you're using. I'm going to see if I can hide it with this one. This is just a really nice cotton yarn, and it's all cotton. If it's with the synthetic yarn, usually this is a very easy process. You just kind of tuck it into your stitch and you're good. And a lot of the time it's not even noticeable. So that's how I add yarn to my project. I hope that answered everybody's questions, but if you still have them, leave them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I post videos every Thursday, and since we are speaking about tutorials, if there is something you want to see, leave it down in the comment section. I make these tutorials for you guys, so I want to make content that you're interested in watching, or something that is helpful to you. So if you have a crochet project, whether it's regular crochet or Tunisian crochet, something you want to see, let me know and I'm happy to make it for you. Follow me on Instagram and check out my blog where I post all of the free patterns, so you can find all the patterns I've made so far on my YouTube, or at least most of them, on my blog. But if you have any questions, any comments, just reach out. I'm always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all again next Thursday.